You awaken with ash in your mouth. It is not memory, it is inheritance. Your fingers curl against obsidian stone, warm with the pulse of ancient betrayal. The chamber hums beneath your skin, vibrating like the breath of a creature older than time. You do not remember your name. Names are stripped in the citadel of trials. Here, you are nothing but breath and bone, fear and fury. They brought you here, blindfolded, not because they feared your eyes, but because they feared what you might see too soon. The walls whisper. They do not whisper words. No, words are soft lies for weak minds. What you hear are intentions, hungry, sharp, layered with eons of agony and ambition. The voices of failed apprentices echo, not in mourning, but in mockery. They want to know if you'll scream as they did. You do not. You rise, your robe dragging dust soaked with the tears of the unworthy. Your master is gone, left you here, unarmed, unwarned, but not unloved. No SITH loves. They mold. You were told this was honor, a SITH's trial, handed down from the ancients. But as you stand beneath the throne, carved from petrified Leviathan bone, you begin to remember the look in your master's eyes. Not pride, not trust, relief, as if discarding you into darkness was escape. Your first steps are swallowed by the stone. The corridor bleeds red with no source. It bends where it should not. It breathes when it should not. Every footstep echoes with the ghosts of ambition unmet. You walk deeper. The first door finds you. It is not wood or metal or stone. It is skin, stretched, veined, twitching as if dreaming. It smells like hunger. As you touch it, it opens not inward, not outward, but upward, peeling like an eye long closed. Within, you see yourself. No, not yourself. A child, your child self. They sob, holding a Toya shard of broken kyber, sharp as guilt. You watch them cut their palm, whispering your master's name. You are not meant to speak. You are meant to watch. The trial feeds on it. You walk past the vision, and it does not fade. It follows behind you. Footsteps, lighter than regret. The path narrows. The stone walls begin to pulse with heartbeat rhythm. You cannot tell if it's yours or something older, something watching. You hear chanting, not aloud, in your chest. To kneel, one to rise, one to burn, one to betray. Asterisk, you understand. Not all apprentices fail by weakness. Some are failed on purpose. The second chamber splits open like a wound. Inside there is no ground, no sky, just void. And in the void floats a mirror. You drift toward it, though your feet remain on nothing. You see yourself as you would have been, had you turned back on the first night. Had you refused the offer of the SITH. Had you stayed with her. Hurrious, the face returns, gentle, wreathed. In soft light, a healer, a farmer, a friend. You raise your hand, so does she. And then her face twists not in fear, but in knowing she speaks. You chose this. She is consumed by flame, and you are left with your own reflection, hollow, blood-drenched. You do not look away. The void shudders, approves. You fall. When you land, your robes are gone. You are in the underskin of the citadel now, where bones hang from red sinew like wind chimes, and screams leak from cracks in the walls. Here, the test is not illusion. It is memory. You see your master's blade, the same blade he swore he'd passed to you, the same blade he gave to another, a boy, younger, simpler, greedy with hunger and wide-eyed. trust. You remember the moment your master looked at him, the way he used to look at you. You remember the taste of hate-sweet, electric, promising. You walk forward, and the blade rises before you, but it is in the hand of the boy. He turns. His eyes are yours. He speaks. I had to. You lunge, but your hand passes through him. He was not real, just the wound that never healed. Behind you, the walls crack. A figure steps out. Not your master, not the boy. A robed shade with no face, holding a heart still beating. Will you take it? It asks, voice like crushed glass in rain. You reach, it burns your palm, but you do not pull back. You squeeze, it bursts, and black ichor soaks your skin. From the blood, a blade grows. It is not beautiful. It is not clean. It is yours. The citadel howls. You have passed the first veil, but you feel nothing. Not pride, not power, only the cold knowledge that the next trial is worse, and that your master never expected you to survive this one. He lied, and somehow that lie is what keeps you moving forward, not to return to him, not to reclaim your place, but to take everything he denied you on more. You do not kneel, not now, not again. You walk deeper into the trial of flesh. You enter the trial of flesh, not through doors, but through pain. It begins as a pulse in your teeth, then your bones. The citadel breathes, and you feel your own body resist. You are unarmed, a Genyer blade gone, perhaps never truly there. This is the way of SITH trials. What is gifted is illusion. What is taken becomes real. The corridor ahead tightens with every breath, and you must crawl. Your shoulders scrape against walls lined with bone shards, symbols etched in dried blood. One whispers your name, not the name you had as an apprentice, but the one you buried. The name from before you chose this path. You hesitate. The corridor responds by collapsing behind you. There is no turning back. You crawl through heat, through whispering bone, through the scent of burning truth. The air becomes heavier, like liquid regret. The deeper you move, the more the pain within you surfaces, not from wound, but from memory. The time your master struck you, not in punishment, but disappointment. The moment you bowed despite the bile in your throat. The nights you stared at the stars, wishing you'd run. The corridor ends, but there is no chamber, only a pit. It beats like a heart. Without thinking, you leap, you fall, but the descent is not physical. The pit takes you through sensation, through your first kill, your first betrayal, your first scream swallowed before it became sound. You land in silence, utter, absolute, blinding. You look around. There are no walls, no sky, no self, until the pain begins, not from outside, from within. Your skin splits in lines of fire. Your blood boils, your teeth loosen. You drop to your knees and vomit smoke. Your vision fractures, revealing not the citadel, but your own body as a cage. Every scar, every nerve, every hesitation visible. The trial of flesh is not to test endurance. It is to expose. Your power cannot rise until your form has been unmade. So you remain still. The trial watches. A voice comes, not his, not your master's, yours, but darker, deeper, without compromise. It says, let go of who you were. You whisper back, I have. The voice answers, no. You held onto the hope that he would return, that he would change his mind. You cannot argue, you weep. Not because you are broken, but because you understand Hope is not for Sith. A blade appears, not in your hand, but in your chest. You pull it out. It's made of your own bone, jagged, pale, singing. You stand. The pain doesn't end, but it recedes into purpose. Your body reforms, not stronger, not faster, but hollowed. The flesh you wear now is not yours. It is borrowed from will, from fury, from silence. Your eyes no longer reflect. They devour. The chamber returns. Stone, walls, torches that burn with black flame. Before you, 3 figures kneel. They wear your face, past selves. The first looks up eyes, filled with wonder. This is you, the day you chose the Sith, thinking it was freedom. The second sneers eyes, filled with rage. This is you, the night you killed your first rival, thinking it was strength. The third looks broken eyes, empty. This is you, the moment you realized your master used you as a decoy. Each speaks. The first says, "Why did you stop dreaming?" The second asks, "Why did you hesitate at the gate?" The third says, "Nothing, just bleeds." You raise the bone blade, know what must be done, not to kill them, but to forgive them. And in doing so, remove their shadow. You strike each once. Clean. They vanish into smoke that wraps around your shoulders like a cloak. A door opens, this time of stone. You walk through now. You are in the chamber of mirrors. Here, hundreds of reflections stare back. All of them you. All of them twisted by choice, by pain, by power. You see the version of you that killed the master in his sleep. The one that fled to the unknown regions. The one who died begging. The one who rose and forgot love. They speak in unison. You must choose which one becomes truth. You step forward, past them all. You raise the blade of bone. You stab the ground. I choose none. I will become what was never offered. The mirrors shatter. Your skin glows red for a moment, then fades. A final figure waits ahead. Your master, not truly, just a memory of him, but sharp, preserved. He smiles, as he always did before betrayal. He says, "I never meant for you to pass this far." You reply, "I know." He tilts his head. Then, "Why did you keep going?" You answer without speaking, only stepping forward, and he fades. You are alone, but not lost. The citadel shakes. You have passed the trial of flesh, and now only one remains. The trial of betrayal, not theirs, yours, and the darkness you carry welcomes it. You walk deeper. You descend through silence thicker than death. The final veil does not announce itself. It waits. You know the trial of betrayal is not a place, not even a test in the ancient sense. It is a moment. It is breath held in a dying chest. It is a choice wrapped in silence. The path beneath you no longer glows. The air no longer hums. Even the citadel dares not speak here, because this is the space where Sith are born or undone. You feel it behind your ribs, pulsing like a secret you never meant to keep. The chamber opens like a wound long sealed. Within there is nothing but a throne of jagged iron and the one who sits upon it. No longer a vision, no longer a shade. He is real, cloaked in silence, his face marked by time and poison, and he is smiling. "I did not call you here," he says, voice like dust on rusted steel. You nod. "I know." He rises. The blade you were promised now rests in his hand, still stained from the apprentice he chose over you. He walks slowly, not in fear, but in ritual. You know what this is. The final test is not about strength. It is about intention. Sith do not rise because they are stronger. They rise because they are willing to cut the thread that holds them back. You made it farther than I intended, he says. You remain silent. You think I abandoned you, but I was freeing you. Still, you say nothing, because there is nothing left to say. He raises the blade. You close your eyes not in surrender, but in readiness. But the strike never comes. Instead, he kneels. I see it now, he says, the hunger, the silence. You have become what I never could. You open your eyes and see the lie. His hands are ready to strike, not in honor, but in fear. The trial of betrayal is not you killing him. It is knowing he would kill you first if given the chance. You step back. I will not take your throne, you whisper. He blinks. Then what do you want? You answer slowly. I want you to kneel, knowing I will not spare you. He hesitates, then kneels again. But it is not truth, it is performance. And you see it for what it is. The final betrayal. He lunges. You are faster. Your blade, now whole, forged not from bone, but from will, pierces his heart before his even touches your robe. He gasps. You were always my greatest failure. You lean close. No, I was your greatest warning. You pull the blade free. He collapses. You do not watch him die, because you have already buried him in your mind 1,000 times. The citadel moans, not in pain, in acknowledgement. The throne remains, but you do not sit. Sith do not sit, not until there is no one left to rise. Instead, you walk to the wall behind the throne place, etched with the names of the few who survived all trials. You raise your blade and carve nothing, no name, because the one who walks forward from here is no longer bound by names. You step into the final corridor. It is white. For the first time, light, not warm, not kind, but honest. You feel the weight of all you have become settle into your bones. You betrayed your fear. You betrayed your hope. You betrayed your master. But above all, you betrayed the version of yourself who thought loyalty would save you. That betrayal set you free, and in freedom, you are no longer apprentice. You are the storm that silence, birthed. You walk away from the citadel. It does not follow. It has given you all it can. And as the stars open above red, bleeding, ancient too, do not weep. You do not speak. You simply vanish into legend. You arrive in the wastes, with sand in your veins, and silence clinging to your back like a shadow that knows your name. The dunes are red not from iron, but from memory, and the wind howls with voices long buried. Somewhere beneath your boots, the bones of Sith lie entangled in betrayal, each ribcage cradling secrets never told. You walk forward, not with purpose, but with gravity, as if the very soil pulls you toward something it wants to reveal. The air is dry, but it whispers like wet breath against your neck. You are not welcome here, but you are expected. The ruins rise without warning, spire-like, shattered, half-eaten by time. They lean as though listening to you. The largest tower is broken at the top, a jagged crown over a tomb that once kissed stars. The red holocron waits inside, or so the whispers say. Not just any holocron, but one sealed by the first betrayer, encoded with knowledge stolen from the Force itself. They say only one who has killed without hatred can open it. They say only one who has wept without weakness can understand it. You say nothing. The gates creak as you approach, not from rust, but from anticipation. You pass beneath a slab engraved with ancient SITH glyphs. One of them glows faintly as you touch it, a pulse that travels up your arm and settles behind your eyes. The world shifts. You are no longer walking through stone. You are walking through the dream of stone. The air is thick with unspoken oaths, and each step you take is remembered by the place inside. You find darkness sculpted by purpose. The halls do not echo, they swallow. On the walls, murals etched with red crystal depict SITH rituals lost even to holocrons. One shows a child swallowing ash. Another shows an apprentice offering their heart on a blade. The third shows a master placing their soul into a cube, eyes weeping blood as the process completes. You do not look away. You do not blink. This is not history. This is instruction. The center of the sanctum is a pit, and in that pit floats the holocron, blood-red, humming, pulsing like a dying star. It is not still. It shifts, stirring slowly. In the air, as if listening to the silence around it, you step toward it, but pain floods your chest before you take a breath. The pit is guarded not by creatures, not by traps, but by truths. You are not allowed near it. His tooth, your first betrayal, the one who called you sister, the one who smiled as you stabbed him, the one who died whispering, "Forgiveness." You drop the tooth into the pit. The holocron responds. It lowers an inch, flares once, and then dims. Not enough. You unseal the next memory, the girl from the mines, the one who taught you to hide your force gift, the one who gave you her bread while you starved in fear of being noticed, the one you led into an ambush to gain your first favor. You whisper her name. You break your own fingers as you say it. Another offering. The holocron flares, brighter, but still holds back. Then comes the third, your master, not the one who trained you in the temple, but the one who found you after, the one who promised you that not all SITH were cruel, the one whose heart you stopped with a thought the moment. You sensed she might replace you. You drop her lightsaber hilt into the pit. The holocron hums. It opens not in one direction, but all at once, unfolding like a rose made of razors and blood-light. Your mind burns, not from knowledge, but from recognition. You see yourself not as you are, but as the Force saw you, not as Jedi, not as SITH, but as fracture. You were never whole. You were made from scraps of shadow, stitched together by betrayal. Your smile inherited from a liar. Your voice trained by a ghost. Your will tempered by someone else's scars. The holocron speaks, not aloud. Inside, you carry the screams of others in your silence. You stagger, but you do not fall. You wear the names of those you killed like armor. You bleed from your nose. Still, you remain standing. You are not worthy. You smile, because that is the first truth that holocron has spoken, and the first truth that does not wound you. You sit beside the pit, and for the first time, listen. The holocron tells you a story of a SITH who fell in love with a Jedi during the first purge. Of a child born in hiding, strong in both light and shadow. Of a betrayal, not from hate, but from duty. The Jedi turned the SITH into the Order. The child escaped. The child grew. The child became the first to split a kyber crystal with intention alone. You do not know if the story is about you or about someone you must find. You only no one thing. The screams you hear are not echoes. They are instructions. You stand. The holocron, now hovering beside you like a wounded animal, it follows. Not because it trusts you, but because it recognizes you. Not as SITH, not as student, but as something else. A scream with a name and a purpose. You walk deeper into the ruin, and the ruin walks with you. The ruin shifts as you move forward, not collapsing, not decaying, but awakening. Every stone you pass exhales dust that tastes like forgotten vows. The holocron floats behind you, flickering with symbols that rewrite themselves each time you glance back. It is no longer testing you, it is preparing you. The halls lead you downward in a spiral that was never drawn by hands, only by memory. The deeper you go, the more the air smells of copper and static. Time begins to blur, shadows lengthen, though no light falls. Your heartbeat begins to echo, as if it belongs to the walls, not to you. You feel something ahead, not a trap, not a presence, a place. You arrive at a circular chamber carved entirely from obsidian glass. The floor is smooth, but never still. As you step inside, it ripples, not from pressure, but recognition. This is where the Jedi was brought, the one from the story. You see her shape in the reflection tall, weary, light pouring from her hands like oil. She kneels here once, beside the one she loved, blade in hand, heart in conflict. You walk to the center, and the floor erupts in light. Not light that warms, light that interrogates. Dozens of figures rise from the glass silhouettes of Sith, Jedi wanderers, monsters, gods, all watching, none blinking. The holocron rises with you, humming. Louder now. You feel it open further, not physically, but inside your chest. Something unseen unfolds behind your ribs, like wings made of regret. One of the silhouettes steps forward. It is her, the Jedi. Her face is not hers. It is many. You see your own face flicker through hers. 1,000 mothers, 1,000 betrayals. She speaks not with her mouth, but with your scars. You are not the first to find me. Her voice cuts like broken crystal. You are not the first to carry their screams. You try to speak, but your voice fails. She steps closer. Do you think the Force can be pleased? You shake your head. Do you think the dark will ever thank you? You do not answer. Then why do you continue? At last you whisper, because I am not looking for forgiveness. I am looking for silence. The Jedi nods. She kneels. And from the floor, a new holocron rises older than the red one, shaped like a tear and glowing with pale fire. This is the memory you came for, she says. You reach for it, and it vanishes into you. The floor collapses. You fall, not down, but inward. You land in a place without geometry. Space here is a suggestion. Time is a dream, too tired to continue. The red holocron floats near you, silent now. You are not in a chamber. You are in a mind. Maybe the mind of the Jedi, maybe your own. It is filled with fragments, visions of apprentices hiding in swamps, of masters screaming through bloodied teeth, of a child surrounded by stars, alone in a drifting ship. You see her, again the Jedi, standing beside a Sith, who bears your eyes. They are arguing not with words, with choices. She steps aside, he steps forward, and the child watches. Them both disappear. The vision folds. You are back in the chamber, but everything has changed. The red holocron is cracked, not broken. Transformed, it no longer floats. It kneels. You kneel with it, together. You whisper the name of the child. You do not know where it came from, but the ruin hears it. The ruin breathes it, and the holocron speaks one final time. You are not Apprentice. You are not Sith. You are witness. You rise. The exit is not a door. It is a tear in the wall, opening like a wound in the sky. Beyond it lies desert, again but no longer silent. Now it sings. The ruins behind you begin to sink into sand, their purpose complete. The red holocron follows no more. It breaks itself against the earth and bleeds light until it is dust. You do not mourn it. You walk on, knowing that somewhere the child waits, not for rescue, but for reckoning. You return to the desert with the wind no longer clawing at your skin, but coiling around your shoulders like a cloak woven from ash and breath. The red horizon ripples as if exhaling the ruin you left behind. No one would know it was ever there, not unless they bled for it. You walk for hours without marking the passage of time, because time has begun to follow you instead. Every step leaves not just a footprint, but a memory of choices you made, of truths you refused to deny. The sands carry the echoes of your name now, not the one you were given, but the one you became beneath stone and holocron. In the distance, you see smoke not rising, but sinking, like sorrow falling from the sky. You find the camp where they wait, 5 apprentices, none older than you were when you made your first kill. They wear scraps of armor, faded tattoos, and eyes that still hope the Force might show them kindness. They see you and draw blades not out of hatred, but hunger. You say nothing. They charge. You do not raise your weapon. You raise your memory. The desert responds. The wind hardens into a wall, their strikes lost to sand. One falls to her knees, sobbing your name, not in reverence. In recognition, she was there, at the edge of the swamp. When the Jedi died, you kneel before her, touch her brow, and whisper the scream that the red holocron taught you. She sleeps. The others lower their weapons. You do not ask them to follow, but they do. You travel across the broken rim of Moraband, beneath moons that leak red light and gaze like forgotten gods. The child's name sings inside your chest. You do not know where they are, only that they are closer than ever. Each step feels heavier, now not with burden, but purpose. Your thoughts begin to fracture, not from pain, from merging. You are becoming a story others will remember, though you will never speak it. The Force does not whisper. It listens. You reach the valley of the last scream. It is a crater, black stone, cracked sky. In the center, a figure, small, still wrapped in rags that breathe in and out like lungs. The child, they do not turn. You walk until you stand beside them. They are not afraid. You kneel. You do not offer words. You offer memory. You show them the holocron's fire. The scream that opened the vault. The betrayal you lived. The ruin you left. They listen, and when you finish, they speak. I knew you would come. Their voice is not soft. It is old, ancient, as if spoken by every apprentice who never became master. I saw you in the stars. They continue, screaming without sound. You take their hand. It is warm. They smile, and then their face begins to shift, not by choice, by revelation. You see yourself as you were before the betrayal, as you were before the Citadel, as you were when love was still possible. The child becomes a mirror, and the mirror speaks. You were always the holocron. You stagger, because it is true. You were never meant to find knowledge. You were meant to remember it. You close your eyes, and the valley begins to collapse. Not in destruction, in fulfillment. The child rises. You vanish, not in flame. In echo, you become the wind again. The red holocron reforms where you once stood, but it no longer waits. It dreams because it has been heard, because it has been screamed, and the desert finally sleeps. You arrive beneath twin moons, split like broken eyes, their pale light bleeding across the jagged cliffs of Moraband's forgotten southern rim. The air here is thin, choked with the dust of crumbled temples and the ghosts of oaths never kept. The trial awaits, not in a chamber or tomb, but carved into the land itself, etched by those who once bled purpose into stone. The earth groans beneath your boots, remembering every footstep it has swallowed. This is no place for mercy. This is where SITH apprentices go to die in silence, or rise with their skin turned to prophecy. You carry nothing but your breath, no blade, no talisman, only the mark burned into your wrist by the Council of Shadoza sigil that pulses as you cross into the circle of jagged pillars. The test does not begin, it remembers you, and that is worse. The wind forms shapes in the dust, familiar faces, not illusions, remnants. Your first master, smiling on the day he told you the Jedi were cowards. The brother you sparred with, laughing before he vanished into exile. The woman who taught you to listen to your fear, not silence it. They flicker like dying stars and then vanish. You do not speak. The trial does not permit distraction. The cracked moons above cast their light through holes in the clouds, painting red across your path like veins through wounded sky. You step onto the first stone. It moves, not like a trap but like a living thing below. The stone splits open and reveals a staircase carved in spirals, descending into Moraband's fractured heart. You feel it heed, humming like a forge where truth is melted and recast. You descend slowly, not out of caution, but reverence. This place is older than Sith and Jedi. This place remembers the Force before it was named. The stairway opens into a chamber with no walls, no floor, only hovering shards of obsidian circling a chasm of void. You step forward, and the shards rise like a storm. A voice speaks not from above, not from below. From within the shards, you seek power, it says. You say nothing. You seek revenge. You breathe, but do not answer. You seek him, and there it is, the truth you buried beneath all the others. This trial was never about proving yourself. It was about ending him, the one who betrayed you. Not with blade or fire, but with truth withheld. Your former master, the one who smiled as he named another heir. The one who told you the Force had already decided. You clench your fists. The shards respond, forming a circle around you. Each one flashes a memory, moments you swore were yours alone. The first time you bent a tree to your will, the moment you crushed a stone with thought, the night you kissed your closest friend before sending her to die. None of them are secrets here. The shards do not judge, they only show. One shard floats closer. It shows him, not as he is now, but as he was when he took you in. Young, scarred, haunted. You see the fear behind his eyes. He wasn't grooming an apprentice. He was building a replacement. The shard splits, and through it, a gate opens. not physical, emotional. You step through. You find yourself in the ruins of the first temple you trained in, but wrong twisted by time, blurred by echoes. Statues whisper as you pass. Scripts crawl across the walls, changing as you look at them. They form a question. Asterisk, will you become what he feared? Asterisk, you walk until you find the altar. Upon it, your own face carved in crystal, eyes closed, mouth stitched shut. Beneath it, a blade, simple, ancient, humming, not with energy, but with intent. You touch it, you see every path you could have taken, every betrayal you didn't commit, every life you didn't ruin. You pull the blade free anyway, because forgiveness is for those who need permission. You do not. The crystal crumbles, the moons crack louder above. You rise, not to fight, to confront you. Step outside the temple, and he is there, as if summoned, as if waiting. Your former master, robes torn from exile, face older, sadder, but unrepentant. You came, he says. You nod. He looks at your blade, so it speaks to you now. You lift it. It remembers what you forgot. He sighs. I didn't choose him over you because he was stronger. You already know the words before he says them. I chose him because he was weaker, easier to shape. You would have eclipsed me. You feel the blade grow heavier, but you do not strike. You let him see what you've become. His eyes tremble, not with fear, with knowledge. You were the lesson he ran from. You were the truth he buried. You lower the blade, and he falls to his knees. Not from injury, from recognition, you turn away. Because this was never about vengeance. This was about becoming the wound he could no longer ignore. You walk past the broken moonlight, and the temple behind you collapses, not with violence, but with release. The trial is complete. You were not meant to survive it. You were meant to become it. You walk alone now, but the silence that surrounds you no longer feels empty. It feels watchful, weighted, like the breath of ancient things holding themselves still just long enough for you to pass. The cracked moons follow you, casting jagged light through the dead trees that claw at the sky. You descend into the basin, known only in whispers, maw of ashes where the earth once opened to consume an entire Sith enclave in the age before Chronicles. The ground is scorched black, brittle beneath your steps, but below its surface, you feel veins of power pulse, slow and deep, as if the planet itself remembers being fed blood in exchange for truth. Here is where the second veil is torn, the place where legacy must be denied, where the apprentice must burn their name to inherit their own myth. The wind dies as you reach the center of the basin, where a single monolith stands, half buried, humming with a resonance too old to be sound. You place your hand against it, and your vision shatters. You are no longer in the basin. You are suspended within an echo-timeless void dark, surrounded by floating chains of light that bind nothing, and yet hold everything. Here, your trial takes form not in what you see, but in what you are forced to become. You see her first, your mother, not by blood, but by fire, the one who shielded you as the temple burned, who whispered forbidden names in your ear when you cried in the cold. She appears before you now, wrapped in flame, arms open. Return to me, she says, though her lips do not move. You step forward, but something pulls you back. Not fear, not guilt, but clarity. She is not here to offer love. She is here to offer illusion. You shake your head, and she fades like breath on glass. Then comes the brother, the one who died in your arms after failing the trial. You now walk. He smiles, teeth missing, eyes wide and wet with joy. "We can start again," he says. "We can go back to the mines, to the dust, to before they broke us." You want to believe him. For a heartbeat, you even reach out, but then you feel it, the wrongness, the way his voice drips, not with love, but with permission. You do not need permission. You are not here to return. You are here to complete. You pull your hand back. He vanishes, not with a scream, but with laughter. The darkness deepens, and then you are alone with the last apparition, yourself, not as you are, but as you were on the day before your first betrayal. Young, open eyes, like mirrors, not weapons. They stare at you and speak the words you buried deepest. If you do this, there's no going back. If you become this, you lose everything you were. You nod and smile. I already did. You touch your own reflection, and it shatters. The void around you collapses inward. You wake at the monolith, kneeling, blood pouring from your nose, your mouth, your ears. The ground around you glows with sigils that were not there before written. In your blood, not for others to read, but for the planet to remember. You have passed the second veil. Not by surviving, but by refusing to return. You have denied nostalgia, loyalty, and love. Now comes the final passage, a path carved beneath the basin, hidden by sound and sealed in death. You speak the word you, heard in your own voice before the fracture Valkyrene. The ground splits, and a staircase unfurls beneath you like the tongue of a beast welcoming its last meal. You descend. The walls close in, carved with thousands of names scratched in panic. In sorrow, in final hope, you see none of your own that comforts you. The passage opens into a chamber soaked in heat. There, you find the forge, not of metal but of memory. In its flame floats a crystal black, vibrating, pulsing with the rhythm of your heartbeat. You reach toward it, and it sears your hand not from heat, but recognition. It has waited for you, not since your birth, since your fall, since your choice. You grip it, and the world screams. You are shown everything. The faces of those you killed, the faces of those who loved you, the places you lied, the nights you begged the force to turn away from you. You do not drop the crystal. You whisper into it, "I am not sorry." And the crystal begins to sing, not in sound, but in light. From the forge rises a blade, not hilted, not whole, just potential. You press the crystal into its core, and it seals with a hiss that echoes like thunder beneath. The world, you do not raise it, you lower it, and the earth bows. This weapon is not for victory, it is for ending cycles. You leave the forge, the staircase seals behind you. You rise into moonlight that no longer feels cracked, because the cracks have become paths. You are ready not to strike, but to be struck, and remain. The final veil awaits. Not an enemy, but a choice. You return from the forge, carrying not a weapon, but a wound shaped like purpose. The blade hums softly at your side, as though it remembers all that had to be broken to birth it. The cracked moons have shifted, now overlapping, forming a crescent eye that watches your ascent through the blasted ridge. The sky has darkened, not with storm, but with waiting. This is the final veil. Not a place, not a trial of strength or memory or will. It is a question, a singular, searing question that must be answered with your entire being. The path narrows between the rocks until you emerge onto a plateau carved from the bones of giants. In its center stands a figure cloaked in stillness. No weapon, no stance, only presence. You recognize them before they turn, not by face, but by feeling. They carry your past, your betrayals, your shadows. They are what you would have become had you said yes, yes to staying, yes to obedience, yes to forgiveness. They look up. Their face is yours, marked by trial, untouched by fire, shaped by a life of quiet submission. I am what you could have been, they say, voice hollow as winter wind. You do not respond. Words here are too brittle. They continue. You could have lived in peace. You could have learned to heal. You step forward, slow, deliberate. The words sting, not because they are untrue, but because they are true. And still, you chose differently. You stop within arm's reach. The silence between you more dangerous than any duel. I didn't come to fight, they say. I know. You answer, but I did. You draw your blade, and the sound it makes is not metal, it's memory splitting. The echo alone cracks the stone beneath you. Your twin raises no weapon, but their eyes sharpen, and then they ask the real question. Are you willing to become hated? You nod. Are you willing to kill, not for power, but for silence? You nod again. Are you willing to let the galaxy forget your name, so long as it remembers your scream? Yes. They step aside, not out of defeat, out of understanding. You walk past them, and they dissolve into wind, into memory, into the choice you no longer need to carry. The plateau opens into a final chamber beneath the moon's pit of black glass, reflecting nothing but the stars above. You step into it, and the sky folds downward, encasing you in a sphere of darkness. Here, the Force speaks, not as light, not as dark, as both, as neither. It asks no questions. It imposes no trials. It shows you everything. The galaxy, burning children, kneeling at the feet of false prophets, empires rising on bones, rebels crushed under banners they once raised. And then it shows you the alternative, peace.bsb, but at the cost of choice, order. But at the cost of truth, you raise your blade and cut the vision in half, not because you choose one, but because you choose neither. Your scream echoes through the void, not in rage, but in freedom. The sphere collapses. You are standing alone on the plateau. Once more, the moons are whole again. The sky is quiet. You sheath the blade. It no longer hums. It waits, because its purpose is not to kill. Its purpose is to remind. You walk down the mountain. There are no disciples waiting, no masters to welcome you back, only the wind, whispering your name into stone, then letting it go. You are not a Sith, not a Jedi, not an exile. You are the trial that others must now walk. And when they come here one day, seeking purpose, or revenge, or peace, they will find nothing, because you have taken the path with you and left only silence, as it was always meant to be. He found you beneath the fractured temple, bones aching with starvation, eyes wide from nights without stars. His voice was the first warmth you'd known in months. It didn't soothe. I can show you the path, he said, and Yu Young, hollowed by loss, believed him, not because the words were beautiful, but because they were louder than your grief. He took your hand, not with tenderness, but with possession, And still, you followed. You were too tired not to. That first journey through the veil of dust was marked not by ceremony, but silence. No other apprentices, no tests, just him. A figure cloaked in dark silk, bearing no saber, only a staff carved with runes older than the order. He never asked your name. Names were distractions, he said. The Force does not care what you are called, only what you are willing to become. And you wanted to become something, anything, as long as it was no longer you. The tower he brought you to was built from the bones of a fallen Leviathan. Its ribs arched skyward like a frozen scream. It pulsed faintly with life ancient, submerged, waiting. He called it the mouth of the void. Inside, the air was dense, humming with whispers that weren't sound, but shape. The walls shifted when you looked too long. The stairs turned when you blinked, but his voice cut through it all, teaching, molding, promising. He never shouted, never cursed. But his silence, when it came, was a blade sharper than any you'd known. You learned quickly that praise was earned in blood, not from enemies, but from yourself. You offered pieces, a memory of laughter, a song your mother once sang, a name you used to answer to. He took them all, gently, methodically. He filled the spaces they left with rituals, truths carved. From obsidian thought, you began to dream in other voices. Your hands forgot their gentleness. You forgot the shape of forgiveness. And still, you thought this must be power. One night, beneath the eye sigil he'd burned into the floor, he told you the story, his voice low, his tone laced with reverence. There was once a Sith who refused to speak, he said. They swore a vow of silence, so that their blade would be their only language. They killed entire armies with a whisper in their lungs. And when the galaxy begged for their name, they turned their back and walked into shadow. You asked what became of them. He smiled. No one remembers. And you said nothing, because something in you feared that was the point. The first trial was not announced. It began the moment he vanished. You woke alone. The tower closed its walls. The walls wept dust. You wandered through rooms that rearranged themselves, rooms filled with mirrors that showed nothing, doors that bled when touched. You ate stone, drank silence. You screamed once. The sound never reached your ears. You wrote his name on the walls until your fingers bled, then wrote it in blood. You slept in corners that vanished when you woke. You forgot the feeling of sky. You forgot the meaning of morning. But one thing endured his voice, not as it was, as it echoed. You heard it in the movement of the walls, in the tilt of the floors, always promising, always just beyond reach. And then, one morning that wasn't. You awoke in a chamber that did not move. In its center stood a figure. You thought it was him. You ran. The figure did not speak. It bled shadows. You raised your hands to defend, but there was no blade, only your breath. The figure lunged. You did not fight. You breathed in, and it vanished. You knelt, not in defeat, in knowing. The silence had watched. You tested you and accepted you. When the walls of the tower peeled back, revealing the world beyond, you were not surprised. He stood at the threshold, smiling. I was waiting to see if you would scream, he said. You didn't. You walked past him, and for the first time, he bowed, not in worship, in respect, but you did not feel victorious. You felt hollow. because a part of you had waited too long for his voice. And now that you heard it again, it was quieter than your own. He led you to the top of the tower. From there, the desert stretched like the skin of a god. The stars whispered. He placed a crystal in your palm. Black, smooth, weightless, double quotes. "This is yours," he said. You felt it hum. With silence, you closed your fingers around it, and for the first time, spoke, "I don't need your power." He tilted his head. "Then why stay?" You smiled. "I'm not staying." You stepped off the edge of the tower, and the wind caught you, because silence does not fall, it ascends. You drift across the sands, with the black crystal nestled in your palm, pulsing against your lifeline, like a second heartbeat, one not entirely yours. The desert welcomes you the way the Force sometimes does, not with mercy, but with memory. The sun does not rise, it reveals, and in its rust-colored glare, you see remnants of cities swallowed by silence, towers leaning like forgotten thoughts, and statues half buried, still screaming with mouths that broke before their stone did. You do not eat, you do not sleep. You walk, not to escape him, but to see who you are when his voice is no longer there to define you. You hear it sometimes in the wind, in the shifting dunes, in the quiet between stars, but softer now, like a story losing power in the telling. For days that stretch like scars, you speak nothing. The silence you once feared now curls around you like a shawl, and the crystal listens. It begins to whisper, not in language, but in rhythm, a pulse, a weight, a hum against your bones. You feel places before you reach them, a ravine etched with glyphs that sting the eyes, where SITH once bled to see visions, a well of black water that shows you the face of the first being you ever killed, an altar where someone who looked like you carved their soul into glass and buried it in ash. At each place, you leave a piece of him behind, his promises, his instructions, his tone. You do not destroy them. You offer them like bones to the wind, and the wind accepts. But when you reach the hollow mountain, the whispers change. They stop echoing him. They begin echoing you. The entrance is a wound in the earth, spiraling downward into a tomb that was never meant to be found. You step inside, and the dark does not resist. It parts, as if sensing the crystal's rhythm and recognizing the child it once banished. The walls here are alive with thought lines of light crawling like roots, murmuring in a language older than time. You descend deeper, and the air grows thick with pressure, as though each step presses you further into a truth the Force itself would rather forget. At the base of the tomb lies a circle carved in obsidian, filled with dust that trembles when you breathe, and at its center empty throne, no body, no bones, only a presence. You do not kneel, you do not speak, you simply stand in the circle and open your palm. The crystal rises, it spins slowly, shedding particles of light that fall upward, dissolving into the air like stardust retreating home. The throne reacts. It glows beneath its surface runes, flaring to life that mirror the ones in your own scars. The crystal floats to its rightful place above the throne, and then ... nothing. No explosion, no voice, no victory, only stillness, until you feel it. A shift inside you, a loosening, as if something buried behind your sternum exhales for the first time in years, and then the walls begin to move, not collapse, open. You are no longer in a tomb, you are in a vessel, a ship. a memory you do not know, but it rises, lifting you with it, as the throne descends and becomes something else, some anchor, a root, a promise. The light shifts around you, forming shapes you can barely process, a galaxy bending, a war forgotten, a map of voices, all silent. At the heart of it, you see yourself not as you are, but as you could become. A silence so powerful it reshapes the force, a shadow that does not consume, but balances. You are not offered this, you are shown it, the way a mountain shows its summit. And then the vision fades, and the tomb becomes a tomb again. You are standing alone. The crystal has vanished, but inside your chest, something new begins to hum. You walk back into the desert, not with answers, but with resonance. The world no longer looks the same. The wind pauses when you breathe. The stars dim when you look at them too long, and still, his voice tries to reach you, weak now, like an echo stretched thin. Return, it pleads. I gave you everything. You shake your head. You gave me your voice. You whisper, but I found my silence. The wind carries your words away, and you do not call them back. On the final night, beneath a sky that forgets to turn, you find another, like you, young, hollow, trembling. They ask if you can teach them the way. You reach out, touch their forehead, and speak only one word. Listen, not to you, to themselves, because power was never in the voice that promised. It was in the silence that remained, and you are its vessel now. You do not return to the tower. You do not seek him out. His voice fades with each passing dusk, a dwindling echo stretched thin across the veil between what was and what chose never to be again. Your silence grows in its place, not as emptiness, but as presence. It walks beside you in the way shadow follows, flame not threatening, not enslaved, simply inevitable. You drift through ancient ruins where apprentices once screamed for mercy, their blood etched into the walls as warnings. You do not scream, you do not weep. You place your hand against the stone and listen. The walls remember you now. They do not resist. They do not cry out. They open, always. Wherever you go, doors cease to be doors. They become invitations. You are no longer apprentice, no longer vessel. You are something he never anticipated. Consequence. And the force begins to bend in quiet, reverent fear. You cross lands where old wars burned long ago, fields of melted durasteel, bones swallowed by sandstorms, forgotten names ground into dust by time. You walk without ceremony. You light no pyres. You carry no banners. But behind you, the wind changes direction, and those who still whisper his name at night begin to wake from it in sweat and silence. He senses it too. You feel him once more, as master, not even as enemy, but as interruption. A tug across the silence, like static across a still pool. His presence returns sharp and desperate, calling not your name, but your doubt. You were mine, it tries to say. You were forged in my shadow. You close your eyes and let the words brush against your skin like smoke, but they do not enter. They find no root. You arrive at the final Valian obsidian basin, cracked by ski fire, where the last unbroken holocron of the silent order still sleeps beneath layers of molten ash. No one dares come here. They fear the silence inside. You do not. You descend into the heart of the earth, and it greets you like a sibling returned from exile. The holocron is buried beneath glass-veined stone. humming softly in a pitch only you can hear. You reach for it. It opens without resistance. Inside, there are no teachings, no commandments, only reflections. You see apprentices who failed, not because they were weak, but because they waited too long to leave him. You see his face, not in triumph, but in fear of the silence he could not control, could not shape. And you see yourself, not with blade drawn or fire in hand, but still, unmoving, complete. The holocron crumbles into dust in your palm. It does not fall. It sinks into your skin. You rise. The valley trembles. The sky opens. And you understand what must come next. He will try to stop you, not with armies, not with blades, but with memory. He will send visions. He will send ghosts. He will send the voice he once used to lull you into obedience. But it will not be enough, because your silence is not absence, it is resistance. You cross the final distance with steps made of thunderless resolve, when at last you stand before him, not in a throne room, not in a temple, but in a forgotten ruin where stars peer through the ceiling like blind watchers. He does not rise, he does not speak, he only looks. You see it in his eyes now, the recognition. You are not here to beg, you are not here to fight, you are here to end the echo. He whispers, I made you. You take one breath, and then you silence him. Not with a strike, not with a scream, with a single, motionless gaze. He crumbles, not his body, his mirth. He fades into air, leaving behind nothing but a shadow that cannot cling. You turn, and there is no applause, no vindication, only wind, only sky, only the sound of your own breath in your chest, like a bell that tolls not for death, but for freedom. You walk out into the night. The stars blink, the galaxy exhales, and your silence, your true silence, floods the void like dawn, too soft to burn. You leave no mark, no shrine, no final word, only a stillness that the force itself will one day kneel before. Because his voice promised power, but only your silence was heard.